Happy crafternoon, friends. I am Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see all of you here from all around the United States and coming in from around the world. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun. This is one of those videos I've been meaning to do for a really long time, and I wanted to wait until our new holiday embossing folders got here because then we'd have more options, more choices to play with. So today's video is all about embossing folders and different ways that you can use them. Now, I have about 8 different ways that you can use them. I promised 5. If I can get to more, I will get to more, but I'm going to give you at least 5 solid ones that you can use. Now, I've done some of these scattered here and there throughout the years, but I know if you're like me, when you want to have an idea, like you want to get some ideas for something, you don't want to be searching all through YouTube for one idea from this video and one idea from that video. You like to find a video that says, here are a whole bunch of ways that you can use them. So that's what today's video is all about. So before we get started, I won't forget today, let's say hello to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Happy crafternoon.
How are you today?
Better than horrible. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great day.
How is it
Very
back there
exciting.
in the dead space?
Dead space is settling down a bit. Yes.
It was very lively with our class over the weekend, huh?
Yep. Yeah. It was a little too lively. So good to be back.
Good to be back in the dead zone.
Dead space.
Well, and then Monday night, I almost forgot all about you because Rena was here buzzing around my head and doing all kinds of things. We had a lot of fun on Monday night. If you didn't see that video, check it out. My daughter Rena came and we made some silly Christmas projects, and it was pure chaos, but it was a lot of fun. Well, Tom, I know that you have something special for everybody today, maybe a little different than
I guess you could call it that.
Well, I'm looking forward to it personally.
You've already built up too much expectation, so
Yeah.
knock that down a little bit.
Okay, it just has to be better than horrible.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I see people coming in from all over the place. We have friends from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And why don't we just get started right away with showing you the brand new embossing folders. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance to see these yet, here are the brand new folders. So this is our falling leaves folder. And you can see it's got all of these open image leaves, which I really like this style of embossing folder. I love the solid stuff, but I also love the open stuff because if you like to watercolor and stuff, it's easy to watercolor inside of these because the raised edges just holds the color in there. So that's kind of fun. Then we have this brand new Gingham embossing folder. Love that one. This is great. This is kind of along the same lines as your Swiss dot or your Lattice embossing folder. Something that's just generic, plain, works with anything, great for masculine cards, super for the upcoming winter holiday, or winter season rather. Then we have this one called Snowflakes. And these are really beautiful, delicate snowflakes. I love this one. I know it's really hard to see this way, so I actually embossed all of them for you. And then the final one is the Holiday Flora. And this one has some solid images in there as well as some more delicate images. I love this one too. So let me just show you what they actually look like embossed because that makes a big difference. So I did them in both white and in craft so that you could see the difference. No, these are not 3D folders. These are all 2D folders, but wait till you see the deep impression you get out of these. Okay, so let's go to the first one. This is the Gingham pattern, and you can see that in white. It's a little harder to see in white, but hopefully if I do that, you can see a very simple pattern, perfect for backgrounds where you don't want a lot going on, but you just want a little bit of texture. Now, here's what it looks like on craft. I always think you can see it a little bit better on the colored paper on the video. Okay, so that is Gingham. And there are 2 sides to this. So you have the side with the raised diamonds, and then I guess they both have raised diamonds, but it feels like on this side, I guess it's pretty similar on both sides.
So what are 3D versus 2D? folders?
So 3D folders have parts of the folder that are at one level of height and other parts of the folder that are at additional level of height. So it may be a little bit better when you have something like a floral scene where you want the centers of the floral to be out past the petals, that kind of thing. But with these simple embossing folders, 2D really gives you all you need. I don't spritz these with water to get them to emboss, but you can if you want. Some people say they have a little bit better luck when they spritz their cardstock with water. I'm just going to do them straight away with the, with the embossing plate on my die cutting machine. Okay, so here's the snowflake one. Look at the delicate snowflakes.
Zooming in might help a little.
You think?
What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Is it maybe too bright? I don't know. Let's try that. How's that look?
That's good.
Okay, so this is the snowflake one. Okay, and then here is the craft one. Yeah, and like I said, if you want to emboss, if you want to spritz the paper with water, you can, but you really don't need to. That's maybe an extra step that you just don't need. Totally up to you. Okay, here is the falling leaves. You can see how deep that impression is. You can see what the other side looks like too. It's recessed. Here it is protruding. And then we have this on craft, just in case. I don't know, some people can see it better on this. Okay. And then the final one here is the Holiday Flora. And you can see this one almost looks like stenciled with embossing paste or something because the images are so bold. I really like this one too. And then here is the craft version of that. All right, so let's start with some simple techniques and we'll get a little bit more advanced as we go. So the first technique that I want to show you is a technique called letterpress. If you've never done letterpress before, it's a very fun technique. I might use one of our older embossing folders for this one. Let me see here. Yeah, I think I will. I don't know if I will or not. Let's see. I'm trying to decide. No, I think I'll use one of our newer ones for this. Okay, so I'm going to use the Holiday Flora. I'm going to probably use this one a couple of times for some techniques. So you have the embossing folder, and on one side of the folder, if you touch the design, your finger will sink in, right? And on the other side, if you touch the design is protruding. So for letterpress, you want to use the side where the design is sunk in, okay? Because basically what you want to do is you want to create color in the background and have your images protruding forward in the actual color of the cardstock. So I'll use white for this just so that we can really see the color difference, but you can try this with all different color combinations. So let's find just a real pale color. We'll do something like craft. And I do want to get my, my machine up here and ready to go. Let me move everything back there. Sorry about that. And so there's two different ways that you can use the plates too. One way is if you're using the platinum, you can use the A plate and this embossing plate. It says right on there, embossing plate. Now that is kind of tight going through. It's going to be tight on most of your embossing folders. It's just a really deep impression. If that's too difficult for you to crank through, then I suggest you use your regular plate and then just a clear plate on top, but then add about 3 pieces of cardstock on top of where your cardstock is in the folder as a shim to tighten it up just a little bit. So you can do it either way. And we could try it both ways. I really have been digging using this embossing plate, but you know, it's totally up to you. So try it a couple different ways and see what works for you. All right, so this is the side of the folder where the images are pressed in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this craft ink and I'm going to ink up the entire embossing folder. I really don't need to ink up the entire thing, but I don't know where my paper is going to land, so I'm just going to do it. So there we go. I'm getting ink all over that. Now, this is not a perfectly you know, solid look. It's going to have a rustic kind of feel to it, and that's okay. That's kind of what we want. Okay, so now I've got ink all over that. I'm going to place my cardstock on the uninked part right here, and then I'm going to flip that down, holding everything in place like that. So you can already see what's going to happen. The tan areas are going to press down, and the white areas are going to protrude. This is called letterpress. So I'm going to, we'll try it the easier way here. All right, so I have my embossing folder on the regular platform. I'm putting a clear plate on top, and then I'm going to use 3 pieces of cardstock right over where I can see through, just to press all of that down a little bit better. Okay. Well, maybe I don't want to have 3. I'm going to do 2. Let's see how 2 does. I think I'm going to like 3 better, though. I just got to get it started. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm pressing that through. Marita, I'll definitely get an extension cord and at some point show you with the Gemini Junior. I just don't have that many outlets here. I'm going to try it with 3 just to really make sure I got it down there. That 1 piece of cardstock is really sticking on me. All right, we'll go back to 2. Go to 2. 2 will do it. Okay. So let's see what we got here now. All right. So I'm going to lift that up. So can you see how rustic that makes it? How that ink is just lightly in the background. It accents every single image, but then the images on the top are very white. Isn't that just a pretty delicate way to add a little bit of texture? You can't really do that with a blending brush, because if you do it with a blending brush, you're going to end up getting ink all over the top. So this just sinks it back in, the ink in there. And the lighter color I really like with this. Now you can do it with a darker color if you want, but I really like the way that looks. Okay, so let me clean this. And the way to clean it, I just use my tidy towel. But if I'm using something like, you know, that's a lot messier, then I will go ahead and just wash it at the sink. Okay, so that's all you have to do. All right. So that's the first technique. That's called letterpress. Try it with lots of different colors. See which way you like the best. And you know what I thought I would do is I would just mount each of these onto a piece of black cardstock just so you could really see the difference. So I'm going to cut these down to 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 and by 5 by 5. Okay. And then you can also use these for little strips that go across your paper too. So it's just little borders. With holiday cards and all the projects that we have going on, you'll be able to use all of this. I always have trouble with the paper craft technique. How do you make sure you have a solid color? Oh, you mean the letterpress technique? Is that what you're asking about? Well, it's not really meant to be a solid color. It's meant to be very pale and light. I guess if you use a darker color and maybe you kind of try to line it up and go over it a couple extra times, that would work. But it's really meant to just accent the background. Okay. So I have another thing to show you, though, that I think that you're really going to like if you want a more solid color on the background. So we've got that coming up in just a bit. But I want to just mount these so that I could take a nice picture of them and then share those with you. So that's the first one. I put the ink on the indented part. Exactly. Okay. All right. So now my next technique is using perfect pearls. So here's an easy way, it's not messy at all, and quick and easy way to add shine to your embossing design. So let's do this next one on some craft cardstock. Let me cut a quick piece of craft. But you could do this on any color cardstock, but we'll go with craft for now. And I know a ton of you have perfect pearls sitting in your drawer right now and you haven't used them in a long time. And so let's get them out. Let's have some fun this holiday season. So this one I will try using my blue plate for you. And I am going to use, let's see, should I use the gingham or should I use the snowflake? I'll use the snowflake on this one. I'd like to see how this looks on the snowflake. Okay, so I'm just popping this into the embossing folder. And then I'm going to use my blue plate, my embossing plate. Okay. Alrighty. And I'm going to run that through. This does make a sound when it comes out the other side for sure. Okay. So here we go. You can see that nice deep impression that we got there, right? Okay. Let me put this away. This is going to be up and down quite a bit. Now, this is a super easy technique. You can do this with an ink pad or you can do it with an ink cube. I happen to have an ink cube here. When I tested it last week, when I was thinking about all the different videos I was going to do, I used an ink pad. But this is an embossing and watermark ink cube. Okay? It's just kind of like Versamark ink, that same kind of thing. So if you have Versamark, you can certainly use Versamark for this. It doesn't matter what what brand you use, but ours comes in a cute little cube. I think Versamark does too. And what you want to do is you want to take your ink cube, you want to just lightly rub over the surface. You don't want to put any pressure on this at all. You just want to lightly rub over the surface. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm lightly rubbing over the surface. You can see it's already turning these pretty snowflakes a different color, which is kind of cool just by itself. That could also be a technique, right? But I have another technique like this that's not as sticky. So, okay. And it's okay if some of it gets on the back. Some of it's going to get on the back anyway because it's perfect pearls and it's kind of hard to control where they go. But this definitely creates an interesting, it like deepens the embossing. No, you don't have to use the blue embossing plate. You can just send it through like I showed you in the first design, where you just use the clear plate and then you use some shims. So I'm just like getting that ink on there. And again, if you don't want to use this, you can use the big one. You can just swipe it over if you want. And again, it's okay if you get some on the background. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get some perfect pearls. And I found this sitting in my drawer, probably like the rest of you, you know, just sitting there collecting dust. Haven't used it in a long time. And I also have this little brush that came with my Perfect Pearls kit. Tom, can you scroll down to those new comments? Because I can't see them. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to dab some of this Perfect Pearls on here, and then I'm going to lightly dust over this. Can you see the Perfect Pearls just grabbing all over that? I'll show you when I turn it side to side. Is that bright enough, that front camera, Tom? That overhead, rather?
I think so.
Okay. It changes every time we shut things off at night, just so you guys know. Okay. And I like this because it's light, it's easy to do, it's quick, and, you know, just like glitter, it can be a little messy. We've all used Perfect Pearls before, but you can also just set it with a little bit of hairspray if you want, or a little setting spray. I think Prismacolor makes like a pencil setting spray that you can use. Okay. All right, and can you see all of that shine in there? Is that showing? Are my eyes going? It feels like it's darker than dark can be.
I can lighten it up if you want.
No, I think it's all right. I'm looking at it here on my phone and it looks lighter, but can you see that? How it picks up all of that shine? Oh, that's so pretty. And if you want a little bit more in the background, you can go ahead and burnish a little bit into that background. But I really like the combination of the perfect pearls with the craft. Oh, good, it's showing up. Okay. Yeah, and if you want, you can take something like a Swiffer duster and you can just lightly dust over it to pick up any excess. And then you'll still get that beautiful shine in there. Okay, so let's just quick put this on a black background. I'm doing it as I go along so I can do my video, my pictures in my group quickly for you at the end. Okay. Let's do that quick. Welcome, everybody. I see so many people here today. It's exciting to see all of you. Thank you for joining us. We're having a lot of fun today with embossing folders, and we're trying some different techniques with them. Easy techniques, a lot of stuff you have sitting in your craft room right now that hasn't gotten a lot of love for years, like your perfect pearls, and that just gives you that beautiful shine. Okay. And I have a couple of videos on my channel where I used metallic embossing paste the same way. So if you have any kind of metallic embossing paste, gosh, years ago, we used to be able to buy metallic embossing paste in a little container with like 5 different colors. And I have a video, I don't know, it must be 10 years old now, of how to do this same thing with metallic embossing paste. So you can always search my channel for ideas. But this is supposed to take away from the big search. Okay, so we have some shine here with perfect pearls, and we've got some letterpress over here. Okay, so the next technique I want to show you is one that I know a lot of you have done, a lot of you really like. It's called carved wood. Okay? No, you don't have to heat set that. You don't have to heat set that. That's not really a problem. Okay, so the next one is called carved wood. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to, I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I think the first thing that I'm going to do is create some lines. So let me get my score buddy here. Actually, maybe I'll just emboss first. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, so why don't we just emboss first? I've done it a couple different ways, but the carved wood technique, I've been dying to use these new leaves for this to see how it would look. I want to use the new leaf embossing folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm going to back out just a little bit too. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this piece of white cardstock into the embossing folder. And again, you know, when it's not a pattern, if it's a little crooked, it doesn't even really matter. So I want to emboss this. I'm going to use my blue plate again. But for those of you who missed it, because I know a lot of you come in late and then you might want to know, you can also do this by putting your clear plate on top. And it seems like we had the best luck this morning with 2 pieces of cardstock as a shim. But I'm going to use my embossing plate because I just prefer that really, really deep image. No, there's no drying time for the perfect pearls at all. It's ready to go as soon as it's done. Oh, what am I doing here? I'm trying to get it to go through. I'm reading the comments and I'm turning the handle and nothing's happening. Come on. Do I have more than one plate on here? No. Okay. There we go. Okay. Here we go. No, Dawn, you don't have to mist it at all before you use the perfect pearls. I mean, you can if you want, but you don't have to. Do you have to have hairspray with hairspray or none? I think you mean, do you have to, I'm not sure what that means.
Do you have to spray with hairspray?
Oh.
Or not?
Oh, you can if you want it to like stick without it, kind of like glitter. You know how glitter will rub off a little bit. But, you know, A little hairspray over the top will help, but it's not necessary. Okay, so now I have my carved wood here, my embossing, and I'm going to use it on the back, right, where everything is recessed. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to score some lines in this. I'm going to do 1/2-inch lines. So let me cut this down to an even number. It's at 4 1/4 inches right now. And I'm only trying it with this one. I've done this before with our Tapestry folder, and it's just spectacular. But I thought I would just try it with this one to see how it looks. Okay. So now I have an even 4-inch panel here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at a 1/2-inch markings. So I'm going to start at the 3 1/2 and score. Then I'm going to go to the 3-inch and score. Then I'm going to go to the 2 1/2-inch and score. Then I'm going to go to the 2-inch and score. Then I'm going to go to the 1 1/2-inch and score, the 1-inch and score. Now this is just a different way to do it than the other way I've taught. I might teach you the other way too. And you can decide which way you like better. I might do it with the holiday Flora. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually, you know what? I'm going to show you the other way, and I'm going to use the holiday Flora. I know that's crazy, but it'll only take a minute because I think it's going to make a big difference if I show you the other way. All right, let me show you the other way. So the other way that you can do this, this is more conducive to better color. All right, I'm going to score this again. 4-inch, 3 1/2, 3, 2 1/2.
So Natalie
2, yes.
asks, is there a special technique in scoring? I can never get straight lines.
You can never get straight lines. There is kind of a special technique. When you're scoring, a lot of people start up here at the top and they put their score tool in here, but they're really kind of not down in a groove. So they start to score and they skid off. What you want to do is get your cardstock over tight onto the side, but pull it down. Pull it down away from the top, and then drop your score tool into the line, starting off the cardstock. Then you're already in the line, and that makes it easier to stay in the line. So hopefully that helps. All right. So this will work much better. So I'm going to use a little bit of craft ink, and I'm going to create a light wood grain. That's the first thing I want to do, is create a light wood grain. And you see, by scoring those lines in there first, it really does create the look of boards, right? It's so easy. You don't need any special anything to make this look nice. Okay. Alrighty. There we go. And you can do this with any color. If you want like a more patina look, you can add some turquoise in there. Totally fine to do. Let's add a little just so I show you what I mean. We'll add just a little ocean mist in there. I don't know if you're going to see it at the end, but we can add a little bit in there just to make it look a little more weathered. Okay, just like that. Okay, now let's do the embossing, and let's do the holiday Flora, because that one, I just have a feeling that one's going to look so good with the carved wood technique. Okay, let me find it. It's over here. I tried to keep all of the things together, and somehow, here it is. Okay. All right, so again, you want to make sure that you're putting an impression down into this wood, okay? So you want the impression to actually be on the back. Normally we would use that side, but for this we're going in the opposite direction. So you want to feel where the indented part is, and that's going to go on the back. All right? So we're going to lay this down, and we're going to have the raised part pressing down into our wood. And now let's give that a nice impression. Yes, thank you very much, Candy. They're probably just working on the website, so let's just give it a few minutes because I asked them to change something on the website this morning. I think it's probably that they're trying to update the categories a little bit to make the search a little better. So just give it another half hour or so and they should be finished. All right, so now look at that. Looks like nothing, right? But let's make it look like something. Okay, so now I want to go with a darker color. I'm going to find warm cocoa for this. And if it's not dark enough, we'll go with something else. So now warm cocoa on top is going to bring this all together, right? My pleasure. Okay, look at this.
Whoa.
Isn't that cool? You see all the carvings now, right? And we still get to see a little bit of that turquoise in there. I love that. So that is the carved wood technique. It does look like patina, right? So I just had to try it with this one because I feel like with those big, deep images, it kind of looks like you got like some kind of laser and burned it in there or something. Or I know there's a lot of woodworkers out there that do patterns like this. So that is how you do carved wood. I know, it's so cool, isn't it? All right, let's just cut this one down a little bit. I'm going to just take 1/8 of an inch off of each side because remember, I have boards here and I don't want to have this board not complete and this one complete. So I'll take 1/8 inch off of each side down to 3 1/4. Okay, so that makes it look more even on the sides. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I want to take 1/4 of an inch off and then another 1/4 of an inch off because I want that finished card to be 3 3/4 of an inch by 5. And you could cut all of these down using Master Layouts 1. It's the same exact size. That's what I'm doing here, I think. I mean, I know, but I don't know how precise I am compared to Master Layouts 1. All right, and then this is just going to mount on here, and you can see how nice it all pops when you get that little, I know it is a surprise effect, and you see on the back, it's all raised, so that is the way we usually use it, but because we have it inverted, that ink won't touch that lighter ink color. Yeah, I think this is a better way to do it, so we'll go with this technique. All right, so there's your carved wood panel. Okay, so far we did Perfect Pearls, we did Letterpress, and we did carved wood. Okay, now this next one is one that I really, really have fun with. It's the wax paper technique, and I think doing wax paper with your embossing folders is really beautiful. The cardstock weight that I'm using, if I use the craft, it's 100 pound, but the white is 80 pound layering weight. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a piece of wax paper. Now, I'll field this question before you even ask. No, you cannot use parchment paper. You have to use wax paper because the wax is what's important, not the type of paper. Okay. So if you missed the technique, make sure you go back and rewatch those last techniques because they're super fun to do. So if you're just tuning in and you missed any of it, make sure you rewatch on the replay because you'll really like, it's so easy and you'll really like them. Okay, so I'm cutting this one down to, I'm just cutting it big first. I'm cutting this down to, let's see, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Which is the same exact measurement as a regular quarter sheet of cardstock. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pick an embossing folder for this one. So gosh, I don't know what to do. We've played with snowflakes. Should we try the leaves? I'm not sure how the leaves will look, but we can try the leaves, or do we want to stick with more fancy designs? We could use the tapestry. Holiday tapestry is a really fun one to use. let's see, we used gingham. Well, we haven't used the leaves, but I'll use the leaves for another one. Let's use holiday tapestry, or tapestry rather. It's called tapestry. So I am just placing this piece of wax paper into the tapestry folder. Now, this is very thin paper, so you should be able to use shims without a problem. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. I'm going to use this again because I really like this plate. But again, if you don't have this plate, well, you should if you have this die cutting machine. Every die cutting machine comes with an embossing plate option. I'm going to back out just a little bit. Yes, this folder is called Tapestry, and it's made from our holiday tapestry design. So you can put your clear plate on top, and you can put a couple of pieces of cardstock on there instead to tighten it up. But I really do like using the one that they recommend here. All right, so I'm going to run this through. You can hear it all crunchy. Ooh, here it comes. Okay. I know embossing folders are very affordable, right? And it's great to have so many different things that you can do. It makes like a fun day. And what I like about these kinds of techniques is, no, it doesn't matter which side you put it in. What I really like about these techniques is if you don't know what to make, this is just a great way to just sit and play. You don't have to really make any cards. And there aren't going to be any cards made today because we have so many techniques that we're doing. Okay, so there we go. I just pulled that out gently, and you can see the designs on there. It's a little cracked. That's okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get an iron. And I happen to grab a piece of cardboard box so I don't ruin my tabletop here. I'm going to iron on this, but I highly suggest that you use an ironing board at home if you have one, just so that you don't ruin your space. So I just have an old iron here. It is a Black & Decker iron. I've had it for 1,000 years. It was probably one of my first irons that I ever got. And then it graduated to the craft room because I got a different iron for my clothes. Now, that being said, for years, I used this iron for both crafting and my clothes. It wasn't a problem at all. All you have to do is put a little piece of paper on top so that no wax gets on your iron, and it's totally fine. Somebody told me they used wax to make their iron more slippery on their clothes too. So I don't know. I never claimed to be domestic. So I'm not. I'm a crafter, but I'm not very domestic. So let me see if I have, I'm just looking quick to see if I have a piece of copy paper. I don't think I do. Yes, I do. So here's just a piece of copy paper. I'm going to cut that down off to the side here into just a half sheet. Okay. No, I don't iron my clothes, Candy. I do iron some of Tom's shirts, but everything I buy, I look at it and go, do I need to iron this, or I'm not buying it? Okay, so we've got a piece of white cardstock here. I'm going to put my wax paper design on top, and then I'm going to put another piece of cardstock on top. This way I can get two designs from this one piece of wax paper. There is actually wax on both sides. Now, I don't know how much wax is on one side versus the other, and I don't know how you decide which one you like better other than to try them. And that's what we'll do. We'll try both of them. We'll pick the one we like better. If we like them both, we'll use them both. Okay, so now I've got that little sandwich there, right? I'm making sure my iron is hot. I have it all the way to the hottest setting, and I have no water in it at all. So we don't want any steam, okay? And for those of you, I see lots of you saying, I haven't ironed in 30 years. I never iron. No more ironing for me. Then bring your iron in your craft room. It will be so happy there. And this is such a fun technique. So now I'm putting this piece of copy paper on top just to make sure I don't get any wax on my iron. And Larry's iron doubles as a paperweight. Okay, so this feels like it's nice and hot. And I'm going to just start ironing over this whole thing. Now, just be a little bit careful that you don't move your paper when you're ironing it, because it'll kind of smudge the design a little bit. Just kind of hold things down the best that you can. And again, I am using something to protect my table here. I think it's protecting my table. We'll see in a minute. I think my tabletop is laminate, so that's kind of a plastic. So we'll see what happens when I pull it up. But I think this cardboard is doing it. So I'm just really giving it a good press with the iron. Now I'm going to turn my iron off so I don't set the building on fire. Okay. So now you don't have to wait at all. You can pull this right apart and it will absolutely look like nothing. So my suggestion is make sure you know which side has your wax on it, because honestly, even with a magnifying glass, you can't see it on there, but it's there. Okay. My table looks okay. It's a little moist, but that's all right. All righty. So now let's get some ink going. I'm going to get a, I seem to really be into the warm tones for this, but you can use any colors. So shall we do something a little bit more bright and fun? Let's do some blues with this. I'm going to get some Tranquil Teal. And I'm going to get some Lucky Clover. And we'll see what this looks like. Okay. So I'll start with the Tranquil Teal. I'm going to get a little bit here on my brush. And then we're just trying the first one. We'll see how it looks. I'm going to start up here at the top. And I'm going to start. Can you see the design coming through? Isn't that cool? Oh, I love that. It's very different. It gives that batik feel. It doesn't look perfect like the embossing folder, but you definitely get a beautiful design in there. All right, here we go. Get a little bit in here. And then we'll add some green. Yeah, so if you're a seamstress and you need your iron, you can still use it for this, but you got to take all your water out and just make sure you use that little piece of scrap paper on top. All right, so now we're going to add some green in here. Ooh, look at this texture. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, it's so pretty. This would be a really pretty background for, you know, like maybe a big snowflake on top. It would also be a really beautiful background to die cut. So if you had, you know, some foliage die cut pieces, you could die cut them and they would have this texture. Now I'm going to go back over some of this with the teal just to blue it up a little bit because I think it's too green. I want it to blend better. Make it more bluey. Okay. So you can see that's what the one side looks like. Isn't that pretty? Let's go with a little bit more teal in here over those lines. Okay. All right, now let's just check the other one and see what that one looks like. And then we'll look at both of them because they do look different. Because remember, one side was embossed and one side was debossed. So it might be a totally different look on this side. Oh, look at this. You see more of the design on this side. Look at that. I think I'm going to, let me zoom in so you guys can see closer. There we go. See, this is the opposite. So you get more of the line arty image, and here you get more of the solid. I'm going to do this whole one using the Tranquil Teal, and then I might add a little bit of green on top. But look at that design coming through. Isn't that beautiful? But it's different. It's not like, it's not embossed. It's completely flat. And it just has a whole different look than an embossing folder. And it has a different look than stencils. It's just a totally cool new look. Very like batik fabric. Yeah.
So Tracy wants to know, do you need to then wipe the surface after you inked it up? Wondering if the ink totally soaks in.
I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to wipe it because it is wax. And just like embossing powder and stuff like that, it's not really sinking in. So that's a great observation. I'm going to do that right at the end here. I'm just adding a little green in here. just to change a little bit of it. Okay. Ooh, that's so pretty. Okay, I think I like this side better. I like them both, but I like this side better, the way that turned out. So that's the one I'm going to keep for my demo picture. And then let's get a paper towel. Look at my fingers. We'll get a paper towel and we'll rub over it. You might like both. See, a little bit's coming off. Yeah, I like them both. I can't decide. I should have done them in 2 different colors so that I could have put them both there. But let's just cut this one up. We'll take this down. I'm just cutting the edges off because whatever happens over the edge doesn't always look as good as what's in the middle. So if you just go around and cut that 1/4 of an inch off each edge, that's kind of nice. All right, we'll do the same thing with this one just so we can look at it. I'm going to mount them both onto black just so we have them as samples. And I'll pop them all in our Facebook group so you can see all of the pictures. I'll also post them here on Facebook in the community tab, but I don't think that it allows me to post quite as many pictures as I can post on Facebook. So I'll post what I can. I think it allows up to 5 pictures. Okay, so we'll tape these 2 together. And we'll tape 2 more together. So how many techniques is that so far, Tom? 4?
I think so.
Okay. All right. We'll get 1 more in here. So I'll put these together later. All right. So the next technique I want to show you is called Versamark Embossing. All right. So it's similar to the letterpress technique, except you're going to get a 2-tone look, and part of it's going to be flat and part of it is going to be shiny. So I will use that same embossing folder one more time. I think I'll do the Holiday Flora one again. Okay, so for this, again, you want to find where the design is sunk in. So on this side, the design is sunk in. On this side, the design is raised. And we want to work with the sunk inside. And I think for this one, I'm going to use a piece of Ocean Mist cardstock for this. So let me get rid of this. We'll put this in so we have some contrast so it's easier to see. Okay, so again, this is the recessed side. The design sinks down into this side of the embossing folder. So what we're going to do here is we are going to use the embossing magic pad, and we're going to rub this all over the surface of this piece of cardstock. That has a little mark on it, so I'm going to do it on the other side here. Okay. All righty. Now we're going to take that embossing and watermark ink, and again, you can use Versamark if you prefer. That's totally fine. This is the Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink. Yep, it's dirty, I know. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my entire embossing folder. And I'm just inking up the entire thing because honestly, I don't know where I'm inking and I can't really see it because it's clear ink. And I don't want to have to figure out where to put my cardstock. So I'm just inking the whole thing. Now, when you're done with this, all you have to do is take it to your sink, get a little Dawn dish detergent or any dish detergent, and you can, you know, clean it all up with that. Just wash it with soapy water and all the ink will come off. Okay, that's pretty good. I think I got it everywhere I need it to be.
Should you clean it after waxed paper too?
You don't have to, because the waxed paper, it really doesn't leave any residue. It doesn't change until you heat it, and you're heating it on the cardstock. Okay, so again, to make this easier, I always want to go on the dry side when I lay my paper down. So I'm laying my paper down on the dry side, and then I am closing the lid. Okay, I'm going to put this off to the side so I can get my die cutting machine back up here. Okay. I can't give you a timeline on when things will be back in stock. I'm sorry about that. It's really, with supply chain issues, it's hard to tell. We're hoping very soon. That's the best I can tell you. It's all been reordered. So hopefully things will be back in stock very soon. Okay, so once again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm using the blue plate for my Spellbinders machine, and I'm going to run this through. I did order everything the day after the release, so, you know, it should be sooner than later. Plenty of time to make Christmas cards, that's for sure. Okie dokie. Now, let me show you this. Now, can you already see the two-tone, right? Now it's darker in the back and lighter in the front because it's a watermark ink, not just an embossing ink. So if you just stopped here and let it dry, you would get this two-tone look that creates more depth. See that? Very different than just, you know, plain, here you go, plain embossing. See how the images really pop because now they look like they're in a lighter color? But we're not done yet. Let's have some fun with this and let's emboss it. So where did I put everything? Here's some clear embossing powder. And here is my little thing, my little piece of cardstock. So yeah, I don't have a clothespin for this because I don't want to damage my my stuff, but I'm going to pour embossing powder here.
So this is like double embossing.
It is double embossing, 2 kinds of embossing. Isn't that cool? I don't know what that is. That's some kind of little something. Well, we won't worry about that. That's where our image will go. So it looks like it's just getting all over everything, but it's really not. It's because it's just taking the background up to the same color as the top. Now I'm going to blow on this off to the side here. There we go. Just to make sure nothing's resting on the tops of those images. Now I might get a little on top of the images, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm using clear powder. So you're not going to notice it as much. If you used a gold or a silver, then you'd have to be more careful. You'd really have to kind of go and dust over the surface of some of these just to make sure there wasn't any little flecks. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to use my heat tool. Yeah, we'll get to Tom's word in just a second. He does have a word. And it may be about embossing. Okay, so here we go. Now watch this get even darker. So this creates a two-tone look, but it also creates a blend of shiny and matte. Oh, I love this. This is so pretty. I could have let my heat tool heat up a little longer. Probably would have been a good idea. But... okay. So now I'm going to turn it around in my hand. Can you see that? Isn't that so pretty? Oh my gosh. I know, I love the embossing. The magic that happens of embossing. You're right. Whoop. So you can see there's a little bit on the fronts of these images, but not much at all. All right. So now look at that two-tone, right? Shiny on the back, flat on the front, flat matte. So you get like a totally different look. This is just so pretty. Can you imagine this just pretty with like a big snowflake in the center, or even just with a big holiday greeting in the center? It's so pretty just by itself. All right, so that's technique 5. Let's see, what time is it, Tom? Oh my goodness, I have 3 minutes. I don't know that I'll get to any more, but I wanted to show you, I'll tell you the other techniques because you can look them up on my channel. Split embossing was one of them. I think I might have a card over here that shows you what it looks like. Let me check real quick. Yep, I do. And I did a 5-minute video on this one. This is where you use the embossing folder, one style at the bottom and one style at the top. And you have like 2 different styles of embossing folders. So I'm not going to get to this one today, but that is another technique. Another technique is to color swipe. So you do this same kind of thing, but you do it on white, and then you just take an ink cube and just lightly rub the color over the raised images. It won't stick to the background, but it will stick just lightly to the surface to give you more of a two-tone look. So that's a couple other techniques that I didn't get to today, but this one is on my channel. Just a few weeks ago, I did it as a 5-minute card video. It's called Split Embossing Technique. And then this one, you just basically do this same technique in white, and then you take an ink cube and just lightly rub color over the surface to get the surface. So, oh my goodness. So, Tom, we didn't get to your word of the day. So what is your word of the day while I attach these together?
Okay, so if you, we've been talking about, well, you've been talking about embossing pretty intensely today, and there's a lot to digest here. So I have an idea if you're kind of overwhelmed at all, or if you've an idea for getting psyched up for going in and killing it with the embossing technique. So first thing you do,
here we go. I'm ready. I'm holding on.
Is you go you go to YouTube and you search for the song "Impossible Dream," and then you open all your windows if you're in a warm climate so your neighbors can hear. And to the tune of "Impossible Dream," you replace all the words "impossible" with "imbossable." And you sing that at the top of your lungs through the whole song, guaranteed to get you in the mood to emboss without fail. So
the impossible dream.
And if Broadway show tunes isn't your thing, you can also pick the Mission Impossible theme and just call it Mission Embossable.
Oh,
so that's the technique of the day.
That's what you got out of that. Well, we did do embossing folders, so those 2 things are perfect for today's theme. That's for sure. All right, Tom. So since we don't have a card to give away, because it was all about techniques, why don't we give this one away?
Okay.
I do have this one stuck with something here. I got to get that tape off of there. So I'm sorry. We're going to give away this split embossed design. And if you want, would it be helpful for you guys if I link that video into this video so that in the description you can find the split embossing technique more quickly? I can do that. Why don't I do that? That'll make it easier. All right. Okie dokie. I know a lot of you have seen me do the split embossing technique. It's not the first time that I did it. I've done it like 10 years ago, and then I reactivated it just about a couple weeks ago. Something about embossing folders. You start playing with them and you want to do as many techniques with them as you can. Okay, so here are all our cards today. We have letterpress. We have carved wood. We have perfect pearls, the little shine of the perfect pearls. You can also use metallic paste, anything like that, to rub over to get a similar look. We've got this fun wax paper technique in 2 styles. We've got the 2-tone with embossing, and then we've got the 2-tone with embossing and an ink swipe that I explained, and then the split embossing. All right. Okay, we got through more than 5 anyway. That's good. At least we talked about more than 5. All right, so who are we going to give this card to, Tom? It's got embossing on it.
Drum roll, please. Here we go. It is beautiful. Know you are loved, Marge Burns.
Marge, yay! Congratulations, Marge. All you have to do is send your name and address to info@ginakdesigns.com and just let them know you won the split embossed card, and I'll get that out to you. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another Crafternoon. I am going to try real hard to be back this weekend with another 5-minute card video. And then next Monday night, I'll be back, and I think I'm going to try some shaker cards. So I hope that you will join me then. It'll be 7 o'clock Central Time, and you can do the math kind of, or put it into a converter on Google. Also, I did want you guys to know that when I post my video on YouTube, and on Facebook, as long as your computer is set to your local time, the time you see will actually be your time. That's how our software works. So it does the conversion for you. So don't, like, if you're on the West Coast and you see, well, wait, she said 7, but this says 5 o'clock. Does that mean 3 o'clock? No, whatever you see is your time, as long as your computer clock is set properly. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I had a great time doing these techniques. I'm going to try to turn these into some cards. And I can't wait to see you again next week. Love you all so much. See you again real soon. Bye. I said Monday night again, didn't I? I'm back. I said Monday night. I can't get it out of my head. I need a big sign right up there on the wall that says, you don't go live on Monday night anymore. You go live on Tuesday night. So Monday night, you all watch Monday Night Football. I'll be back on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. All right. Take care. Bye.